So as we have started learning in our previous video regarding the festival in Sukkot and Bnei Noach, we discussed a verse in Vaykra, Levicticus, in chapter 23, verse 42, which mentioned that Sukkot tishvu b'shivat yamim kol izrach beYisrael, and that the verse stops there. And then we learn what does it mean kol izrach beYisrael, all the citizens of Israel. And we mentioned that by understanding that now we're entering into the future and that the holiness of Israel will be expanded to the entire world. So all those of the faithful Bnei Noach that join the Jewish people by accepting upon themselves the 7 commandments because they were given by Hashem to Moses in the Torah on Mount Sinai, they will become Ezrach beYisrael, the citizen of Israel. They will be therefore separated by their egoistic perspective of life, and they will join the Jewish people in the overall, including state of consciousness of being here in this world to serve Hashem and to make this world a dwelling place for Him. Now let us contemplate a second verse in order to answer this question that we're going to address now: how the sitting in a sukkah transforms faith into knowledge. And how is this relevant? How can we keep the faith throughout the entire year? So in order to answer this, we are going to visit Vaykra chapter 23, verse 43, which in Hebrew reads, Leman yidu dorotechem, ki besukot oshavti et bnei Israel, otzeti otam mieretz Mitzrayim, ani Adonai Elohechem. In English, it reads, in order that your generations should know that I had the children of Israel live in tabernacles when I took them out of the land of Egypt, I am the Lord your God. Now, there are a number of questions that we can ask here on this verse, but we're going to focus on one. What is it, the fact that Hashem set us in the Sukkot, in the tabernacles? How is that connected to the fact that the end of the verse says, I'm the Lord your God? That to state that who is our God? The God that sit us in the Sukkah. So we have to understand what is really this in a spiritual, in the spiritual work that each person needs to do. How is that sitting in a sukkah is going to make that Hashem is our God? So let us understand further. When we're sitting in a sukkah, we are surrounded by the cabin, the sukkah, which can be made in any type of material. We're not going to get into the halachic considerations as they are not pertinent. For Bnei Noach, you can make it in wood, in aluminum, and with a simple cotton and simple vegetation that you put on the top of it. You can build a sukkah, a hut. Now, the sukkah is surrounding the person that is sitting inside of the sukkah. So little historical observation before we actually understand what is how the faith is makif and what does that mean, a surrounding. When do we celebrate the festival of Sukkot? Now, end of September, beginning of October, we are celebrating Sukkot. Now, all reasonable people, actually, at the end of the summer, at least in this side of the world, they start going back home and stop with the camping and going back to the comfort of their homes. There's this, it starts to become colder and rainy. Only the crazy Jews decided that in this time of the year, when it starts becoming rainy and cold, going outside to make the festival of Sukkot. Now, that makes a clear statement that we do not rely on the solidity of our walls as an insurance for our life. We are making a statement that we rely on Hashem and on Hashem only for the security of our lives. And that's one of the reasons why we actually go out and do Sukkot on this time of the year, to make a statement that even though it starts to become cold and rainy outside, we are full of faith that Hashem is our only and ultimate security. And no walls, no life insurances can really be a security other than Hashem. We all know that we can have life insurances and big houses, but on a split moment, if Hashem decides, God forbid, something other than good, Hashem is our ultimate security. First point. Second point. The fact that the Sukkah is actually surrounding us, that represents the clouds of glory with which Hashem protected us, the Jewish nation, when we left Egypt. For 40 years, we were protected by the Ananei Kavod, the clouds of glory, against the differences of temperature, the wild animals, the snakes, the scorpions. It washed our clothes. Of course, there are mystical dimensions to it. We will discuss Bezat Hashem moving forth. But the Sukkah represents the clouds of glory with which Hashem protected us. And the clouds of glory are actually expressed in the faith that we have in our Creator. The clouds of glory are there protecting us, surrounding us, as long as we have faith in our Creator. Faith is that which is the rope that attaches the clouds of glory, the divine protection, our security throughout the entire year, throughout our lives. It is that faith that sustains, maintains the clouds of glory surrounding us. So when we decide to sit in the Sukkah for 7 days, what we're doing is that we're sitting inside of that faith. We are making a point in showing to ourselves and to the world that we have faith in Hashem, that we allow His glory to surround us all completely. We eat inside of the Sukkah. We try to do all that we do generally in the house, we do it in the Sukkah. We don't need necessarily to sleep inside of the Sukkah for different reasons that I will not expose right now. But we can drink, eat in the Sukkah, be with our families, invite our guests in the Sukkah. We want to take the opportunity to make that faith become interiorized. And that brings us to our second and final part of this video, that faith has to become knowledge. Makif has to become pnimi. The surrounding faith has to become integrated knowledge in our minds. That which we can understand, we no longer need to rely on faith. We need to rely on faith when we do not understand. And there are many circumstances in our life that we do not have the books open in front of us, and we are in traffic, or we are in our jobs, or in a family situation, and things don't look like going in the direction that we would like to. So we need faith. But throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, we have to bring as much faith as we can into knowledge, into becoming integrated in our minds. How do we do that? By studying the dimensions of Sukkot, Bezat Hashem, and my understanding the divine in a much more clear way, and we will try to do that progressively, Bezat Hashem, in the coming weeks. Hopefully, we will have time to learn at least a number of aspects in Sukkot and reach a higher level of integration of our faith in trust and knowledge, and Bezat Hashem, live throughout the year with the feeling that Hashem is constantly at our side, and together we will be successful. Bezat Hashem.